Hey everyone, welcome in. Today we've got a really fantastic explainer lined up for you. We are going to focus on the exact English phrases you need to smoothly navigate social plans with your friends. You know, if you've ever felt just a little bit awkward trying to coordinate with a buddy before actually committing to an event, well, you are definitely in the right place. By the end of this explainer, you're going to have this natural, super confident toolkit of conversational phrases ready to drop right into your daily life.
So, have you ever been in this exact situation? Picture this. You get an invite to a formal dinner. It's a bit more expensive than you were really hoping to spend, and frankly, you only want to shell out that kind of cash if your best friend is also going to be there to make the night fun, right? You're stuck in this classic dilemma. You want to go, but literally only if they go. So how do you naturally communicate that in English without sounding, demanding or clingy?
Okay, let's dive into this, because what we're really talking about here is forming a social contract. Now, in this context, a social contract is just an informal agreement between friends. It's all about establishing solidarity. When we use certain English idiomatic phrases, which we'll often call chunks of language, we're basically making a friendly little deal. It completely solves our budgeting worries or our social confidence dilemmas because it guarantees the experience will actually be worth the cost and the effort. Why? Simply because we'll be sharing it with someone whose company we genuinely enjoy. And that brings us to the absolute magic phrase, I'll go if you go. What's so fascinating here is that this is not about strict textbook grammar. You really don't need to overthink it and say something clunky like, I'll go if you'll go. No way. Native speakers use this exact phrase as a set idiomatic chunk. It is a quick, direct way to make a deal with a friend. You are clearly simply communicating, my attendance depends entirely on yours. It's natural, it's effortless, and it works perfectly every single time.
And this brilliantly illustrates just how versatile this concept really is. Let's expand that toolkit a bit. Say you were just totally exhausted after work and you do not feel like going to that exercise class. But, as we all know, dragging yourself to the gym is way easier when a friend is suffering alongside you. So you say, I'm in if you're in. Or, imagine you and a friend have been tossing around the idea of taking a cooking class for weeks, but neither of you has pulled the trigger. You can solidify that plan by just saying, I'm up for it if you are. These are brilliant native-sounding variations to keep in your back pocket.
Now, before we start dropping these phrases left and right, we need to establish the rules of engagement. Who do we actually use these with? Well, you definitely want to use them with friends, family, and close coworkers. These phrases are tailor-made for doing work in the background with close contacts, people whose presence will genuinely enhance the event for you. But, and this is absolutely crucial, you do not use this with strangers, and most importantly, you never ever use this directly with the host of the event. So the crucial point here, and this is what we'd call the ultimate faux pas. If the host invites you to an event, you should never reply with, who's going? In US culture, doing this gives completely the wrong impression. It's actually considered highly insulting. Why? Because it essentially makes it sound like the host's company just isn't good enough for you. So remember, our social contract phrases are strictly for checking in with your fellow guests behind the scenes, never the person throwing the party. All right, let's see how this actually builds into a real-life conversation. We're going to run through a quick, practical role play to hear the natural flow. Picture this. You and a friend have both been invited to an expensive wedding. It's an hour or two away, so it's going to be a pricey weekend. You have to make decisions about booking a hotel and figuring out transportation, so you really need to solidify your plans with your friend first. Let's jump into the dialogue.
So imagine you say to your friend, it's kind of expensive, I know. I hear there will be an after party and a brunch the next day, though. Notice what's happening here? You're bringing up those tempting extra events, the after party, the brunch. This is a really great conversational tactic to make that expensive hotel stay suddenly seem a lot more worth the money.
And your friend, well, they don't miss a beat. They reply, that does sound fun. I'll go if you go. Boom. Right there, your friend naturally deploys our magic phrase. Instead of some long, drawn-out, awkward decision-making process, they just make a direct social contract. They're agreeing to split the hotel cost, but strictly on the condition that you are going to be right there with them to enjoy that after party.
So now that you've got the hotel sorted, you move right on to logistics. You ask, all right, sounds good. What about the party bus? I guess it's easier than driving ourselves. Now, a quick side note here. This highlights a very common cultural norm in the US. Couples hosting weddings will very often book a party bus to shuttle guests between the venue and the hotel. Since people tend to drink a fair amount at weddings, this just ensures nobody drinks and drives. It's a really smart, safe option that guests usually coordinate taking together.
And your friend easily wraps up the whole shebang by saying, all right, I'm up for it if you are. And just like that, the role play concludes perfectly.
Through just a couple of short, natural exchanges, the two of you have fully navigated an expensive hotel decision and organized safe transportation. And you did it all by relying on these cooperative, deal-making phrases.
Now, what's really interesting about this is the much deeper layer of what we just learned. These phrases, they honestly transcend simple vocabulary. They are true connection skills. When you look at a friend and say, "I'll go if you go," you are showing them that they matter to you. You're explicitly proving that their presence literally makes a difference in your life decisions. It motivates both of you to jump into things you might otherwise skip, like that tiring exercise class we talked about, and ultimately it builds real, tangible closeness in your relationship. You're validating your friendship with every single plan you make.
Which brings us to our final thought for today. So what's it going to be? Which social contract phrase are you going to use with your friends to make your weekend plans? Will you go with the classic, "I'll go if you go"? Or maybe try out, "I'm in if you're in"? I highly encourage you to test these out the very next time you're texting a friend to make plans. Mastering these connection skills is absolutely the key to natural, confident communication. Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer, and I literally cannot wait to guide you through our next topic.
Got it! What's up? Catch up! Aha!